Every town has a story, and these 7 towns have stories on the stranger side. Here we go. Whittier, Alaska, population 255. Odd because most of the people in this town live in the same building. Whittier's on the Prince William Sound, 58 miles southeast of Anchorage. During World War II, U.S. Army developed Camp Sullivan here, including a port, railroad, and buildings designed to be self-sufficient and sturdy for military personnel. The 14-story Baggage Towers, which is home to more than 90% of Whittier's residents, opened in 1957. Services like the post office and a store are contained within the building. The police department used to be in the building too, but they moved to a fancy new municipal building a few years ago. There's an underground tunnel to get from the tower to the school when the weather's bad. There's another big building in Whittier, the Buckner Building. It was completed in 1953 and it's been abandoned since 1966. Some people incorrectly report that the Buckner Building is where everybody lived until they all moved together over to the Baggage Towers. Wrong. Whittier offers plenty of outdoor activities and beautiful scenery. It's also a popular cruise ship port, and the Baggage Towers includes a lounge for cruise ship staff. Very hospitable, Whittier. Apart from accessing Whittier by sea, you can reach it by car or rail through the longest highway tunnel in North America, 2.5 miles. It's a one-lane tunnel, and it's odd in its own right. A single lane shared by cars and trains that both travel in both directions. The jet turbine ventilation system airs it out between trips. No electricity, no running water, no sewer or trash pickup. Sounds like paradise. Maybe not. But the squatters that call the Slabs home refer to it as the last free place in America. Sure, it's a town that isn't really a town, but the police do cruise through regularly, so it's not complete anarchy or anything. Slab City started out as a Marine Corps training ground, Camp Dunlap, during World War II. By 1956, the buildings were demolished and all that remained were slabs, hence the creative name, Slab City. The 640-acre property in the Sonoran Desert is owned by the state of California. Slab City is home to Salvation Mountain, a gigantic sculpture that one man spent 30 years building and painting. Oddly enough, there isn't an accurate count of how many people who don't want to be found live in a town that doesn't exist. But the best population estimate is around 150 people year-round, about 4,000 people during the winter when the RV folks roll in to take advantage of the great weather and free parking. Centralia, Pennsylvania. Centralia was a coal mining town going back to the 1850s and 100 years later was home to a few thousand residents. Like many other towns, Centralia dumped their garbage in a landfill and then burned it from time to time, reducing the volume of waste to ashes. On Memorial Day weekend in 1962, they set about to burn the year's accumulated garbage. This was the first year an abandoned strip mine pit was used as a landfill. Once the garbage was burned down, they put out the fire, except they didn't. The fire had unknowingly spread to the web of coal veins that ran below the town and beyond, creating sinkholes and belching toxic gases up from the ground here and there. Roads and homes were destroyed, and some demolished or reclaimed by nature, as former residents left over the years. Those coal veins are still burning today, 50 years later, and are expected to keep burning for another 240 years and cause the same destruction in another nearby town a few decades from now. Only 5 residents remain in Centralia, and although they're allowed to stay for life, they cannot sell their homes or will them to their children. Oak Ridge, Tennessee. In 1942, the federal government bought 60,000 acres, much of it farmland, as one of the sites for the Manhattan Project, the initiative to develop the first atomic bomb. It would take a lot of people to do the work required, so housing, schools, shopping, churches, and other amenities were all part of the planned community that would come to be known as Oak Ridge. Plants named K25, S50, and Y12 were the sites of uranium processing. Covering more than 44 acres, K25 was the largest building in the world when it was built in 1944. During the Manhattan Project, 75,000 people lived and worked at Oak Ridge, and most of them had no idea what exactly they were working on, just that it was important to the war effort. Oak Ridge is now home to the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, a multidisciplinary research facility under the Department of Energy with an annual budget of $2.4 billion, a staff of 5,700 people. Thurmond, West Virginia. A newly completed railroad, close proximity to the coal fields, and a steam engine repair shop contributed to the existence and growth of Thurmond, West Virginia, beginning in the late 1800s. The railroad was really important to the development of Thurmond. Things started to decline when roads became a thing in 1917. A couple of fires over the next 20 or so years wiped out parts of the town, leading to the exodus of many residents. When diesel engines replaced the steam engine, Thurmond was all but done. In the city's 2005 election, 6 of the 7 town's residents ran for political office. Makes you wonder if the town council meetings and Sunday dinner are one and the same. As of 2020, the population of Thurmond is estimated at 5, making it the least populous municipality in the state of West Virginia. The National Park Service owns about 80% of the property in town and uses the old train depot as a visitor center. The depot is still a stop for Amtrak about 3 times a week, and trains hauling coal still pass through Thurmond regularly. Near the Mexican border on the Rio Grande is a ghost town named Terlingua, Texas. Population 85. Terlingua was a mercury mining town beginning in the late 1800s and the place where the mineral terlinguite was first found. I'm probably saying that all wrong. At its peak, Terlingua had a population of 3 to 4,000. Mining slowed down in the 1940s and stopped in the early 1970s. The first known World Championship chili cook-off took place here in 1967, and that annual competition continues to this day. In the 1980s, the folks behind the competition split into 2 groups over some disagreements. Some say it was the age-old chili debate of beans versus no beans, but who knows. And there are now 2 cook-offs held by the different groups at the beginning of November every year, drawing in about 10,000 self-proclaimed chili heads. Go to the middle of nowhere and make a left and you'll find Monowi, Nebraska. What makes this town interesting isn't the location, it's this lady, Elsie Eiler. She's the mayor, the librarian, and the bartender. Since her husband Rudy passed away in 2004, Elsie is the sole resident of Monowi. Elsie operates the Monowi Tavern, a restaurant and bar that serves folks from around the area, along with travelers and tourists. She's not in a back office looking over reports and scheduling employees. She is the only employee. She takes the orders, makes the food, pours the drinks, clears the tables, and everything else. Her and Rudy took over the Monowi Tavern in 1971. Over 50 years later, at 88 years young, she's still going strong. Her husband was an avid reader with a huge collection of books. In his honor, she built Rudy's library and filled it with his book collection. At its peak in the 1930s, Monowi had a population of around 150, but generations since have gravitated toward the cities, often for job opportunities. The school, the church, grocery stores, they've all long been closed. Elsie isn't bothered by being the mayor and doesn't even understand what all the fuss is about. To her, taking care of the business, running the tavern 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, just what she does and who she is. That's all for this one. Thank you for watching.